You walk into someone's workspace and immediately feel a strange mix of confusion and curiosity. Papers stacked like unstable towers, sticky notes hiding under coffee mugs, pens scattered everywhere, and a notebook open to a random page full of scribbles that look like either genius-level thinking or complete chaos. It's the kind of desk that makes you instinctively want to clean it, and yet the person sitting there seems completely relaxed, like everything is exactly where it should be. Then you ask them a simple question. Do you have that report from last month? Without even looking stressed, they reach into the mess, move 2 papers aside, lift the folder, and pull out the exact document in seconds. Meanwhile, your own desk is spotless, organized, labeled, maybe even color-coded, and somehow you still spend 10 minutes searching through files for something you saved 5 minutes ago. So what's going on here? For years, we've been told that neatness equals discipline. A clean desk means a clear mind. Organization is supposed to be a sign of productivity, responsibility, even intelligence. But psychologists studying creativity and human behavior have noticed something interesting. Some of the most curious, imaginative, and intellectually active people often work in environments that look messy to everyone else. This idea is sometimes referred to as the messy desk theory, the suggestion that a certain level of disorder might actually reflect a different style of thinking. A mind that jumps between ideas, connects distant concepts, and prioritizes curiosity over strict structure. Of course, not every messy desk belongs to a genius, and clutter alone doesn't magically create intelligence. But when researchers observe how certain people work, patterns start to appear. One common personality in messy environments is what you might call the idea collector. This is the person whose desk looks like a living archive of curiosity. Books are open with pages folded halfway through. Articles are printed and highlighted. Sticky notes contain random reminders like, read this later, interesting idea, or possible connection. At first glance, it seems overwhelming, maybe even chaotic. But inside the mind of an idea collector, something fascinating is happening. Their brain doesn't move in straight lines. Instead, it moves through networks of ideas. One concept leads to another, which triggers a memory of something they read months ago, which suddenly connects to a completely new thought. Psychologists call this associative thinking, the ability to link seemingly unrelated pieces of information together. Their desk becomes a physical reflection of that thinking process. Instead of hiding ideas away in folders, they keep them visible and accessible. Papers, notes, and books remain within reach because any one of them might spark the next connection. What looks messy from the outside is often just a workspace designed for exploration rather than strict order. Then there's another personality type that thrives in slightly chaotic environments, the creative wanderer. Imagine someone working late at night with music playing softly in the background. Their desk holds a sketchbook, a half-finished note, a book they started reading, maybe a cup of coffee that's already gone cold. They move between tasks in a way that seems unpredictable. They sketch for a while, then read something unrelated, then stare out the window for a minute before returning to their project with a new idea. To an observer, it might look like distraction. But psychologically, this behavior reflects something called divergent thinking. Divergent thinkers explore many possibilities instead of following one rigid path. They allow their thoughts to wander because wandering sometimes leads to unexpected insights. Research from the University of Minnesota even found that people working in messy environments were more likely to generate creative ideas compared to those working in perfectly organized spaces. The theory is that order encourages convention and rule following, while disorder signals the brain that it's okay to break patterns and experiment. In other words, a little environmental chaos can encourage mental flexibility. Another personality type whose desk often appears messy is the deep diver. Their workspace might not be filled with random inspirations like the idea collector or creative wanderer. Instead, it often contains a few large stacks, papers, books, notes, all connected to the single problem they're focused on solving. Deep divers become intensely absorbed in their work. When they concentrate, their brain enters what psychologists call a flow state. During flow, attention becomes so focused that everything else fades into the background. Time passes quickly, distractions disappear, and the brain devotes nearly all its resources to the task at hand. When someone is in this state Small environmental details like whether the desk is tidy simply don't register as important. Stopping to organize things would require breaking concentration, and for a deep diver, that interruption can feel frustrating. So the piles of paper grow while their mind stays completely immersed in the work itself. There's also a type of thinker often misunderstood by others, the controlled chaos thinker. At first glance, their desk looks completely disorganized. Papers overlap, notebooks are scattered, and nothing appears to follow a clear system. But ask them where something is, and they can locate it almost instantly. This happens because their brain relies heavily on spatial memory. Instead of organizing information through labels or folders, they remember where things are based on position and visual context. The location of the object becomes part of the memory. A document might be remembered as the paper under the blue notebook near the corner of the desk. Moving everything into neat drawers actually disrupts that memory system. For controlled chaos thinkers, their desk functions like a visual map. Every pile, object, and position holds meaning, even if it looks random to someone else. The interesting thing about the messy desk theory is that it isn't really about mess at all. It's about how different minds interact with their environment. Some people truly think better in clean, minimal spaces where everything has a clear place. Structure reduces distraction and allows them to work efficiently. Other people think best when ideas are visible, overlapping, and constantly interacting with each other. Their environment mirrors the movement of their thoughts. Notes remain out, books stay open, and projects spread across the desk because that visual presence keeps ideas active in their mind. Neither approach is inherently smarter, but the assumption that intelligence must always look neat and perfectly organized simply isn't accurate. Human thinking is rarely tidy. Ideas overlap, connections form unexpectedly, and creativity often emerges from a mix of order and disorder. Sometimes the desk simply reflects that inner process. So take a moment and look at your own workspace. Maybe it's clean, minimal, and carefully arranged. Or maybe it's filled with papers, notebooks, and half-finished ideas scattered across the surface. The real question isn't whether your desk looks messy. The real question is whether it helps your brain think. Because sometimes what looks like chaos from the outside is actually a mind actively exploring, connecting, and creating. And now I'm curious, when you look at your desk, do you see order or do you see a little bit of creative chaos? And maybe the more interesting question is this. If someone judged your intelligence just by looking at your desk, would they completely misunderstand how your mind actually works? Sometimes brilliance doesn't look organized, it looks like curiosity spread across a table. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Intelligence doesn't always appear polished or perfectly arranged. Sometimes it shows up as unfinished notes, scattered books, and ideas still in progress. Because a mind that's constantly questioning, connecting, and imagining new possibilities rarely has time to stop and make everything look tidy. If you like this video, make sure to like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any update. Also, share it with your friends.